Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on, YouTube? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. I got my morning coffee, got a few minutes to kill, so I figured we'd knock out a video. I think we're going to title this one, Is Netflix Dying? Obviously, Netflix isn't going to die. They're not going to completely go away. But I think it's clear at this point that Netflix has lost their dominance as a streaming platform. For the first time ever, they've lost users. They just recently lost a whole lot of money. And that's with them putting $1 billion into additional content or their own content over the past year. So we're going to be talking about all of that today. Just taking a quick look at the stock price. The other day, right when they reported the drop in subscribers, the stock was trading at, $349, $350. Literally overnight, in after hours trading, it went down to, would it go down to like, $220? Right now, the stock is sitting at $226. If we look at the past month, it's down $148.40 or 39.62%. If we look at the 6-month chart, it's down 65.37%. And if we look at the year chart, it's down 62.14%. And, this kind of reminded me of a video we wound up doing maybe 2 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was either the 2020 or the 2021 Super Bowl. Tom Brady was in the Super Bowl, and it had been either just shy of or about 20 years since his first Super Bowl. So Tom Brady's first Super Bowl was in, I believe, 2001. 2020 Super Bowl, or maybe it was a 2021, maybe it was 2021 Super Bowl. Anyhow, we did a video and we looked at who were the major advertisers for the Super Bowl back in 2001 versus 2020 or 2021. And if you looked at 2001, it was companies like Circuit City, Radio Shack, Tiger Direct / CompUSA, they're kind of the same company, AOL, who else was it? Circuit City, CompUSA, AOL, Gateway Computers, and none of those companies are around today. And in that video, we were kind of discussing the topic or the idea of like, is it possible to build a, legacy brand or a legacy company today? If you look at companies like Coca-Cola or Harley Davidson or IBM, a lot of these companies have been around 100 years or more. Is that possible today, or is the world too fast moving? Does nobody have the chance to kind of get the head start to become, kind of an eternal company that lasts forever? Do people's likes and wants change over time and companies can't adapt to it? Not really sure what it is, but I think Netflix is one of those companies that a lot of us thought would never not be the powerhouse in the streaming world. Probably a decade or more ago, a lot of people started cutting the cord, as they say, leaving cable and going to services like Netflix. And way back when, it was kind of a no-brainer, right? Cable's not cheap. You normally wind up having to, it's normally kind of a ripoff if you don't wind up doing the entire bundle. So you wind up bundling your internet, a phone that you don't even really need, a house phone, and cable for, I don't know what it is. You might get a good introductory offer, but after that wears out, it's going to be, $150, $200 a month. So cutting the cord, dropping that $150 or $200 a month bill and going to Netflix, which at the time was $7.99, was basically a no-brainer. But now, Netflix is up to, like $15 if you want the, non-HD or non-4K and a limited number of screens. You're probably looking at closer to $20 if you want the better quality picture and additional screens. I know Netflix recently announced they have 100 million users who are basically piggybacking off of other people's accounts. And it looks like they're going to start cracking down on password sharing, which, might get them some more users if people can't use the service and like Netflix for whatever reason and want to keep it. But overall, I think they're just going to wind up losing a lot more people. I kind of wonder if their business model was similar to, there's a lot of articles coming out right now about, the millennial lifestyle subsidy is coming to an end. And what they mean by that, for the past decade or more, there's been really cheap money. Money's really easy to get for businesses and investments. I know Gary Vee used to always joke, we're living in a period where, VCs or venture capitalists are throwing, stupid money at any teenager in a hoodie who knows how to code. And, a lot of these services popped up. There was a lot of VC money. They didn't have to be profitable. They didn't have to make money. They were able to operate at a loss. And that's why Ubers used to be so cheap. That's why Grubhub and all these food delivery services used to be so cheap. And, basically the idea is, millennials, because we were, the young people who were using all these new services were able to live a lifestyle above their means, above their wage, above their pay grade, because of all this cheap money and all these services that were operating at much cheaper than they should be. The idea that you can have your groceries delivered to you, your food delivered to you, you can have other people drive you around. These are all services that are normally kind of a luxury thing, right? Rich people have people chauffeur them around. Rich people get their groceries delivered. But because VC money was being thrown at these services and these services were operating at a loss just to get people to use them, they get everybody hooked. And then, I guess the idea being later on when they wind up raising the prices, everybody's so used to using these services that they just suck it up and pay the added price. I mean, how many of you guys are going to go back to taxi services after using Uber? And most of the taxi services have been killed off by Uber in the first place. It's kind of what Amazon did with putting the bookstores out of business. So I kind of wonder if that was Netflix's plan all along, although the timing is kind of bad. Early on, Netflix was really kind of the only major streaming service. They were the powerhouse. They were putting out a ton of great original content, and actually also curating a bunch of good content. They used to have The Office. They used to have Parks and Rec. Some of their own shows. I know Atypical was kind of popular. The United States of Terra. Ozark, they were putting out some good shows for a while. I feel like that's kind of declined, and that's one of a lot of people's big complaints about it. And another thing I wanted to talk about is, I've never seen everybody kind of sour on a company so quickly. One of the things that's crazy about Netflix, if you think about it, the concept that there's a term Netflix and chill is pretty powerful. Like back in the day, you used to quote unquote make it a blockbuster night. And if you were a kid, maybe your parents would take you to Blockbuster. You'd browse around, you'd pick out a movie, you'd pick out a video game. If you're lucky, maybe they'd buy you some of that overpriced candy. If you were a little bit older, maybe you took your, after a Friday or Saturday night, you take your boyfriend, girlfriend out to dinner. And then you guys head over to Blockbuster and, you make it a Blockbuster night, you get your movie. And it was kind of a whole experience. Well, obviously Blockbuster wound up going away. If you guys kind of like nostalgia and 90s things, or if you were a fan of Blockbuster, check out, there's an interesting documentary on Netflix. I believe it's called The Last Blockbuster. I thought there was still a Blockbuster in Alaska somewhere because they don't have good streaming speeds. But this movie, The Last Blockbuster, was about a Blockbuster somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I think either Washington or Oregon. And this was like the last Blockbuster. And I think at the end of the movie, I believe it actually shut down. But it was kind of a fun little documentary. But it used to be all about Blockbuster. I remember I've been a Netflix subscriber since it used to be DVDs through the mail. I used to sign up for the Max plan where you get 3 or 4 DVDs at a time. I downloaded some programs so that I could rip DVDs. I'd go buy 100 pack of DVDs, and then I'd basically get 3-4 movies in the mail, copy them all, send them back, get another couple on the way, copy those all. And that's back when people actually still had DVD collections. You never have a big binder full of all your DVDs and your CDs and things like that. And that was kind of the cool thing to do. But obviously then Netflix went to streaming. And then the term Netflix and chill popped up. I mean, think about that. There's actually a term for, finger blasting your girlfriend and watching a movie. Netflix and chill was kind of like Kleenex in the sense that people refer to all facial tissue as Kleenex. At some point in time, it became, having a movie night, having a date night and watching a movie became, quote unquote, Netflix and chill. So that kind of shows how powerful and how big of a part of our culture Netflix became. And early on, Netflix was really the only major streaming service. I mean, there were kind of other little bullshit things like Crackle and some of these free ones, but Netflix was the powerhouse. Now you got Disney Plus, you got Hulu. Most of the television networks now have their own streaming service. You got Peacock, you got Discovery Plus. I mean, I can't even name all of them, but there's a ton of them out there. And there are also a lot of these services that are actually free if you don't mind watching ads. So I think like Crackle and some of these other ones actually have some decent show lineups, as long as you don't mind sitting through some ads. So I think the timing in terms of Netflix raising their prices and trying to get people to stop sharing passwords is happening at the worst time ever. If they had done this previously, before all this other competition was in the marketplace, they might have had some luck with it. But now there's so many other choices. And in terms of people souring on Netflix, like Netflix users, I'm seeing more and more people questioning, like, is it still worth having a Netflix account? If you guys are curious, just for context, like how many people have Netflix accounts, I did a quick Google search before making this video. So one of the stats I found was that 53% of households have a Netflix account. There was another stat, though, that I think 11 or 13% of households have had a Netflix account in the past year. So I'm guessing that's people who maybe started sharing accounts instead of paying for them themselves, or maybe are rotating between accounts. So if you look at it that way, you're probably looking at 60-something, 63, 65% of households are basically Netflix users. Probably more than that if you look at the number of household sharing accounts. For context, I've always heard the amount of households with Amazon Prime was right at around 63%. Although doing a quick Google search, I did find one recent study that was saying they found that it was a smaller study, so not sure how accurate it is, but they were saying 83% of households had Amazon Prime accounts. But regardless, over half of American households have Netflix. But I've noticed people souring on Netflix. They're wondering, should I still subscribe for it? I saw one funny comment online. A guy basically said this. He's like, I would have canceled Netflix a long time ago, but I have like 5 parasites, either parasites or leeches. I have 5 parasites or leeches on my account. I call them my family, and I view paying for Netflix every month as my gift to them. And, that's so true. I have a Netflix account. My girlfriend lives with me, but she uses it. My mom and dad use my Netflix account. My grandma and grandpa use my Netflix account. And my sister and her husband use my Netflix account. So oftentimes when I try to wind up trying to log into Netflix, I get that message, you're watching too many screens right now. And even though it's my service and I'm the one paying for it, I can't even watch my own Netflix. I think I did wind up upgrading to a more expensive Netflix package to get more screens. We'll be taking a look at an article in a second. I think Netflix is talking about they're going to start cracking down on this. Another thing I was going to do, I was going to hop into a couple Reddit posts. So there was a post on the Netflix subreddit where people were questioning, is Netflix still worth it? Obviously, the media has kind of soured on Netflix. And even investors in Wall Street have kind of soured on Netflix. Traditionally, when we talk about the, high-performing, huge mega tech stocks, it was always the FANG stocks, right? FAANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Seeing Netflix's performance recently and the fact that they're now, they lost 200,000 users. They're expected to lose 2 million users. And with that happening, I think Netflix is being kind of taken out of the FANG thing. Well, Facebook, I saw somebody who had made a clever comment online the other day. Facebook is now Meta, so that's an M instead of an F. So what are we left with? Meta, which is the M, Apple, which is the A, Google, which is the G, and Amazon, which is the A. So it's no longer FANG, it's MEGA, Make America Great Again. But, MEGA is now basically the acronyms for the powerhouse tech stocks out there right now. I've been talking really quick and all over the place. I got about another 10 minutes, so we'll keep kind of running with this. But yeah, it does seem like Netflix is kind of dying. People's complaints about Netflix, one big complaint, and I don't think this is a criticism of Netflix itself so much as it is the entire streaming industry, but me and my girlfriend kind of ran out of stuff to watch, on a Friday or Saturday night. If we don't got anything going on, we're not going out. We'll normally do a movie night, and normally we spend more time flipping through Netflix and Hulu and all the services we're signed up for than we actually do watching the shows. Netflix hasn't really been putting out that many good shows, and a lot of people's complaint is, older movies that I want to watch or a specific movie that I want to watch, I can never find on the streaming services that I'm signed up for. I was feeling kind of nostalgic. So when I was a kid, my grandparents used to have this big box of VHS tapes that my grandpa used to either record off the TV or rip off of movies he rented. It was all handwritten titles on them. But we used to watch the Indiana Jones movies, like the trilogy, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies, Back to the Future, Harry and the Hendersons, Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors, some of those old, like, kind of 80s movies and things like that. And me and my girlfriend wanted to watch Indiana Jones. She said she'd never seen Indiana Jones. Well, of course, I couldn't find it on Netflix. It wasn't on, I'm signed up for 3 or 4 streaming services. It wasn't on any of them. I wound up having to pay $2.99 or $3.99 for it on Amazon. So that's one complaint a lot of people have. That's not necessarily a criticism of Netflix, because that's kind of true of all of these streaming services. But that's one criticism. A lot of people are upset that Netflix has gone too woke. One of the new, quote unquote, top Netflix shows, or the shows that Netflix is pushing really hard, is a show about a couple where a man is having a baby. Now, I don't know where they did their market research. I'm sure, among Twitter users, that shows about men having babies are probably all the rage and all that anybody wants to see. But in the real world, most people don't want to watch shows about men having babies. And a lot of the stuff that Netflix is putting out is kind of woke crap. Another big complaint people have is Netflix will put out, a decent show, but they'll do it for one season and then they'll discontinue it. And so people say Netflix doesn't take advantage of the stuff that does well or the stuff that's popular, and they wind up, running with stuff that's not popular. Honestly, a big part of the reason that I subscribed to Netflix for as long as I did was because I would watch The Office all the time. It's like a good background show. It's a good show to fall asleep to. It's a good show to have in the background while you're working. And obviously that's not Netflix's fault. When Peacock came out with their own service, obviously they took Parks and Rec and The Office, but that was probably like 90% of why I subscribed to Netflix. And I had talked about in a video the other day I made, our streaming service is dying. One thing that I was planning on doing is maybe signing up for 1 or 2 streaming services at a time, keeping them for anywhere from a month to 3 months, watching whatever content on there I want to watch, and then dropping those and getting a new service. So I'm constantly getting, fresh content, a fresh batch of content. And I noticed a lot of people talking online were planning on doing this as well. So I only got a few minutes left, but let's hop in. Here's an article. Ad shares plunge, Netflix takes aim at password sharing. So we'll take a quick read of this one, then I think we'll hop into a couple of these Reddit posts, but I only got a few minutes left. An unexpected drop in subscribers sent Netflix shares into free fall Wednesday, forcing the company to consider experimenting with ads. So think about that. You're going to pay $15-20 a month for Netflix, and they're going to make you watch ads too. Hold on to your remote, cracking down on millions of freeloaders who use passwords shared by friends and family. The surprising net loss of 200,000 subscribers rattled investors who had been told by the company to expect a gain of 2.5 million subscribers. Netflix shares sank 35% on the news, falling to their lowest level since early 2018. And I would love to hear from you guys. What price would Netflix have to be for you to be interested in buying the stock? Or would you even be interested in buying the stock, period? Netflix estimates that about 100 million households worldwide, or roughly 1 out of every 3 households using its service, are streaming for free. We've just got to get paid at some degree for them, co-CEO Reed Hastings said during a shareholder call Tuesday. Netflix has already been experimenting in Latin America with programs that use a soft touch to convince subscribers to sign up. In Costa Rica, for instance, Netflix plans range from $9 to $15 a month, but subscribers can create sub-accounts for 2 other individuals outside their household for $3 a month. So I think they realize they're not going to crack down on everybody, but if they can, get even a percentage of 100 million people to give them an extra $3 a month for, 3 new accounts, which is $9 more per subscriber, that would probably be good for them. Just how Netflix will erect barriers will remain unclear, and Hastings indicated that the company will probably spend the next year assessing different approaches. In one test last year, Netflix prompted viewers to verify their accounts via email or text. I mean, not that you couldn't just text your mom or dad or brother or whoever you're sharing an account with and get that code from them. Some current subscribers even say even a gentle nudge to reduce password sharing might push them to sign off. Alexander Klein, who lives near Albany, New York, has subscribed to Netflix since 2013 and shares his account with his mother-in-law. While he likes the service, a string of price increases and the loss of licensed shows like The Office and Parks and Rec has annoyed him, and any password sharing crackdown might be the last straw. So it sounds like this guy's probably only signed up so his mother-in-law can use it. If they start cracking down on password sharing, I'm stuck paying the full $15 just for one person watching at a time. That's frustrating, he said. If they decided to do that, I'd likely cancel. Netflix is bracing for more subscriber losses even before it attempts to weed out freeloaders. The company predicted its customer base will shrink by another 2 million subscribers by the end of June. That would still leave Netflix with 220 million worldwide subscribers, more than any other streaming service. Despite some fears that a Netflix crackdown on password sharing could encourage other streaming services to follow suit, experts say that's not likely. I'm not going to read the rest of that, but you guys kind of get the point there. Let's hop into, there were a couple Reddit posts that I thought were kind of interesting. So here's one from Stocks. I think it's kind of interesting. Same topic being discussed, but you're going to get a different take from people on say Reddit than you are from people on a Netflix subreddit. So revenue, $7.87 billion versus $7.95 billion expected. Earnings per share, 3.53 versus 291. Okay, I'm not going to go through that. The way that's structured is kind of hard to read. Consumers said no to that 25% price increase. 2% drop in subs for a 25% price hike. CFO will probably view this as a win. Let's see here. 25% seems like a lot, but we're talking about $2 a month. The fact is that there are more streaming services now than ever, and consumers need to spread that money out. We are basically back to where cable was. I know that's a lot of people's frustrations is, I ditched cable to get rid of an expensive bill, but, now that I'm signed up for 6 different streaming services, because each one has some particular show I like, I'm paying almost as much as cable, and it's a much more, kind of segmented, inconvenient experience. They're trying to ban sharing accounts. If they do that, the value of an account becomes less to me. So that means they should drop prices, but instead they increase prices so consumers unsubscribed. It's pretty much like what a premium cable channel subscription package you want. We've gone back in time to the reason I canceled cable TV in the first place. Today's streaming is wildly different than what cable is. You might not be able to get all the content that you want from one provider, but you aren't trapped into buying bundles to get one channel that you want. You aren't forced to buy basic cable and then add on more ridiculous fees while being shown ads. And it sounds like Netflix is thinking about experimenting with ads. Streaming may not be as great as it was when it started, but it's still miles ahead of what cable is. Let's see. Guidance even worse, forecasting a drop of 2 million subscribers. So I only got a few minutes left. There's one other thread I wanted to take a look at, which is another one from Reddit. And somebody basically asked, rant. Netflix is starting to get to the point where it's not worth paying for. I'm ready for the downvotes considering which sub I'm on. It's a Netflix sub. When Netflix hit the scene in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a game changer. DVD by mail and streaming was revolutionary. It started making originals like House of Cards. That was a big deal. Fast forward, it's changed for the worse. Netflix is losing its edge. Many films on there are either cheesy teen Netflix originals or movies leaving for other services. They keep ramping up the price, and it's becoming a bit much at this point. Netflix wants you to pay an extra $5 for Ultra 4K. They pump out originals faster than babies take shits. Barely any of them get renewed. Many of the good shows get canned, and the bad ones get renewed. They make generic, cheesy cliffhangers only for the show to not end. Their social media accounts reek of edgy teenager. I've seen a lot of people complaining about that. I actually checked out their Instagram account yesterday, and it looks like their Instagram account's being run by a 15-year-old emo couple. I mean, it's pretty cringe and pretty terrible. With Friends, Gilmore's, and The Office, 2 of its biggest shows gone, and Gigi's contract expiring soon, are all leaving, and in most regions, Disney Plus being more affordable, and recently adding Star for no extra cost. Netflix isn't the same. So let's see what people have to say about this. Okay, here's the comment I was talking about earlier. I'm only subscribed because I'm the host to 4 Parasites. It's a small gift to my family. Last year killed or delayed a lot of their new original shows. I think it'll come back as shooting has started again. I agree. I think you can easily just subscribe for a month out of the year and catch up to all the worthwhile content. So there's somebody planning on doing what I'm planning on doing. This is what I do. I rotate paying for 2 streaming apps at a time for about a month or 2, then switch. Save tons, and I only have to wait 6 months before I'm back and can watch anything new that I missed. That's what I've been doing. I have a shared Netflix account and rotate everything else regularly. I find I get more out of rotating services since it forces me to get through a series in a more focused manner. For Netflix, I do 1 month on, 3 months off. Really, I'm still loving Netflix. I'm a member since the DVD mail days. I watch a lot of great documentaries and comedy shows, so it's been great for me. I love documentaries. Netflix actually does have some decent ones, but I've pretty much watched everything decent that they have. If you don't like, no one is forcing you to pay for Netflix. Vote with your money. My wife forces me to keep paying for Netflix. You know what's funny? I was actually going to get rid of my Netflix, and the one thing that I was hesitant to do is I know once I got rid of it, I get about 3 texts tonight from either my sister, my grandma, or my parents. Like, hey, Johnny, did you change the Netflix password? No, I canceled it, and they'd all be disappointed. Also, when I brought up canceling it, my girlfriend's like, oh, I love Netflix. I still watch it. And I'm like, do you really? And she's like, okay, let me watch for a few more weeks, and then we'll get rid of it. This is where I have Hulu and Disney Plus, which are both cheaper, and it seems better content. Outside of their Korean horror section, there isn't too much Netflix has to offer that I couldn't get elsewhere. Netflix has good content, but you can't rely on Netflix to bring it to your attention. I remember being able to scroll through Netflix and find good shows, but now you have to research the shows before you watch them. And I find myself doing the same thing. Either I flip through Netflix for 30 or 40 minutes and find nothing to watch, or I wind up having to like hop on Reddit or forums and be like, what are the best, horror movies on Netflix? What are the best outdoors movie on Netflix? What are the best, true crime movies on Netflix? My parents canceled Netflix a few weeks ago, and I was kind of pissed off at first, but honestly, I have not missed it at all since then. So I got to get running. I know this is kind of an abrupt end to the video, but we've been ranting for almost a half hour here. Let me know your thoughts. Do you guys still subscribe to Netflix? Do you still find it gives you value? Any other thoughts or comments that you have about anything we've discussed on this video today, the stock price, Netflix as an investment, or anything else, drop a comment in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video, guys. Later.